Hello everybody, my name is Mohit Deshpande, and we're almost done with our app, and there are just a few more key features of functionality that we have to add in, and we'll be done. So now the next thing that I want to add is grayscale. This is kind of tricky, because if you remember, we can convert from RGB to grayscale, and that's fine, but we can't really convert back to RGB from grayscale, so we're gonna have to do something interesting here. And so what I propose is we actually have two copies kind of this same image. And yeah, I think that's one of the simpler ways to do it is you basically have a color original, color modified, and then a gray original and a gray modified. And we can just double up on all of these operations, and then based on what this value is, we choose which image to show. So let's do that. So I'll make a color original and color modified, and I'll need a gray. I need a gray original equals CV2, and here's where I can actually just take this original and convert it to grayscale. So CVT color original, and CV2 dot color underbar BGR to gray. Okay, now I need a copy of that so I can modify. So gray modified equals gray original dot copy. Okay, excellent. So now I have copies of this, and now what I need to do is I want to, any of the filters and the contrast brightness that I apply, any of these operations I apply to my color image, I also want to apply to my grayscale image. And the reason for that is when I do the switch, when I switch between grayscale or color and grayscale, then what I can do is I can just pick which image to display. So it'll be like I've already applied the filter and the contrast and brightness to the grayscale image, and it'll just look like I'm converting. I'm quote unquote trying to look like I'm converting between RGB and grayscale with the same contrast and brightness and filter settings. So that kind of gives that appearance, even though in actuality we actually have two copies of the image that we're dealing with. So I'm basically just going to make gray analogs of color, of these color, code. So the gray modified equals cv2.filter2d gray original -1 kernel. So this is exactly the same as a color one, except I'm using gray instead of color. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste this line of code here. I'm going to re-indent it. Instead of color modified, I'm going to use gray modified. And same thing here. I'm going to use gray modified, and everything else I can actually just leave the same, except for here actually. One last thing. Gray original dot shape and gray original dot shape. Though technically I could just have left it as color original, since the color, since converting to grayscale doesn't actually change the image shape at all. But anyway, we'll leave it like this. Okay. So we're almost done with applying grayscale, and you can see that that wasn't really that difficult to do at all. One thing we have to do though is we have to figure out when to show the grayscale image and when to show the color image. So we should extract this. So grayscale equals cv2.get track bar position, and that is grayscale app. And so this is just going to store the grayscale value over the iterations. And what I have to do though is I have to, in here I have to pick whether I'm showing the color or the grayscale. And so this line of code, I can't put it with the others. I actually have to put it before the others here. So I'm going to put it right up here at the front because I'm showing the image at the front. So after I know what my value of grayscale is, then I can say, well, if grayscale is equals 0, then I want to show the regular image here, this color color modified. However, else I want to do cv2.im show app gray modified. Right, so what happens here is, first thing I do is I figure out which one of these values is, or which one of these images I'm going to show, color or gray. I do that by getting this track bar, and then if this value is 0, then I do color. If this value is 1, then I do grayscale. And then, it doesn't matter whether I'm in grayscale or I'm in color, I'm going to always apply any of my CV operations to both. That way it kind of gives the appearance that I'm flipping between grayscale and color. So that's pretty much all we need to apply this grayscale switch. So let's actually go ahead and run it and see what happens. I'm going to run my app, it's running, we kind of mess around with contrast and brightness a little bit. Maybe I'll apply a filter as well. Now, see, when I can flip between color and grayscale, and it's like I've already applied all that stuff on top of, the grayscale, and that's exactly what I've done actually, right? So I can easily flip in between the two, and because I've changed both the color and the grayscale. Excellent. So that's, we're almost done with our app, and I just want to recap what we did in this video. So what we did is we were able to kind of give the user, at least give the user the impression that we can convert between RGB and grayscale. But in actuality, what we were doing is we had, an original grayscale image and a modified grayscale image, similar to what we did with color, and then regardless of what mode we're in, color or grayscale, we always apply these CV operations from the track bar to both the color and the grayscale modified images, and then the flipping the switch just tells OpenCV which one of the images to show. So it kind of gives that illusion that we can switch between RGB and grayscale, but in actuality that's just not something that we can do easily. So we kind of give that impression by modifying both the color and the grayscale. So anyway, that's what we talked about in this video, and I showed you the demo of that, and we're almost done. There's one other feature that we have to add, and we're going to add that in the next video, and that's we're going to actually add the ability to save these images, because you can do all this work, but then you want to be able to actually save the results. So we're going to discuss that in the next video.